Is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 129. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him midweek here in Austin, Texas. Gearing up for the first Copa Tejas clash of the 2024 season. We will, of course, preview that match, talk about other Austin FC news. We've got best keeper in the world, last business day, and, of course, the nonsense. But before we get into all of that, I will ask you, as I always do, how we feeling, my friend?
Can't help but be excited, man. First Copa Tejas match coming up here. Frisco coming into town. You know, despite the current state of our club, I bleed green, man, and this is our team, and I'm going to be there through the thick and thin. And I know we're down right now, but I don't think we're out. So I'm very excited about this. Put the weekend in the past, the rearview mirror, and get ready for this matchup here. Should be a really fun one. I know you got a good preview for us and all the people out here listening, and I'm excited to get into it, man.
Yeah, an opportunity to at least start trying to change the narrative around this team. 2 home matches coming up, but cannot overlook this one coming up on Saturday. Before we jump into today's episode, just want to remind everybody, if you've got 5 extra seconds and you haven't done so yet, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Helps us grow the podcast. And of course, you can also hit that notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, which you can also do by leaving a comment and joining in on that discussion, right? Any and all of that you would do for us, we would greatly appreciate. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. We'll talk some news here first, and actually, so some news that greatly impacts Austin FC, but also the league as a whole. The MLS referees have agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement with the Professional Referees Organization, right? That's PRO, the Referees Association, PSRA. That's the labor union that represents the match officials here in MLS. So as this weekend, man, we got him back. I've never thought I would want to see Drew Fisher so badly, but we'll have our regular officials back today. And again, I know that just like with any negotiation, right, probably not 100% of those officials are thrilled with the agreement. But from what I read, and I won't get too deep, I don't think we need to get too deep into this here. I'll let others, go read. There's plenty of other outlets with much better breakdowns on this situation and how it was resolved. But for our purposes, right, coming up this Saturday and going forward, we don't need to yell scab anymore at these people wearing funny colors on the pitch.
Yeah, now we can just harass the refs regularly.
Normal style.
With our normal hatred. This is great, man. Finally it's done. 5 games. Too late, but still we are here. This is going to be an intense matchup. I assume it's going to be physical. 2 teams that do not like one another. So it's great news that we have some actual valid refs on the pitch out there. So that's a good thing, man. And it has been such a nightmare dealing with these replacement refs, and they're put in a lose-lose situation no matter what. And, these people are individuals, and, they come into this situation, this scenario, and literally nobody is going to like them. I was just thinking about that the other day. It's just like, man, you're just in a really tough spot. So with that nicety out of the way, get out of here. Come on in, professionals. Let's restore some balance to the league here, a little more integrity.
Yeah. We all, we're fans of integrity around these parts. So that's good news for Austin and for the league. And of course, we get our 2 international call-ups back this week. Coming off the break, we had Danny Pereira out there with the Venezuelan national team. First took on the Italians, who are number 9 in the FIFA rankings. So a very staunch opponent there. Venezuela ends up falling 2-1 at the end of that one. Danny came on, played 28 minutes in that match, completed 10 of 13 passes, 13 touches, 4 of those into the final third. I didn't get eyes on that match, nor on the match against Guatemala, which I believe ended 0-0. Danny started that one. But from those who did watch, and I saw some clips also circulating, of course, our buddy football critic Alex over there with We Are Austin TV, the premier Danny correspondent there. So if you want more info, I think, on those Danny games and how he did, you can check out his socials on Twitter there. But more good experience for our young midfielder.
Yep, got some time, didn't get hurt. Progressive passes to the attacking third. Wow, look at that. We could use a couple of those. So don't blast them all off yet, Danny. Excited to have him back. Pepe is a dynamic player, and we need to find some solutions for our current issues, and having him back absolutely helps that, provides us some more options, some more variables to insert into this lineup, potentially formational changes, what have you. So very excited that he's back. Glad that he stayed healthy, and a good run for them.
And Julio Cascante coming back off what I think is a very successful turn there with Costa Rica. Took on Honduras on Saturday. I believe this was for a spot in the Copa America this summer, and Costa Rica 3-1 victory over Honduras. Julio plays the full 90 there on the back line. And I believe that places Los Ticos at Q2 Stadium this summer, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, I may be wrong about that, but I think that brings Costa Rica to Q2 for some group stage matches. And then they took on Argentina in a friendly, went down 3-1, but I believe, despite that scoreline, you got a pretty solid performance out of Julio here. Again, goes the full 90. This was a Tuesday night match. So I see that face, maybe he's not 90 minutes fit this Saturday. We'll see. Did get a shot on target. Big chance missed. I assume that was the same play there. 74% pass accuracy, 2 of 4 on his long balls in terms of accuracy, 2 passes into the final third, 5 clearances, 2 recoveries, 2 headed clearances, 2 blocks, 1 time cleared off the line. Very active night, as you would expect, going up against the World Cup champion Argentinian side. But yeah, I think a good outing for Julio, and I'm also very glad to have him back.
Super glad he's coming back. Again, same situation, got the burn, didn't get hurt. We like that, and for somebody whose struggles last year were well documented, it's really good to see him in almost, top form. I mean, obviously he was scoring a lot of goals for us during that magical run, but he's definitely looking like he's back to his old ways, and that's incredibly encouraging. And with the emergence of Heinz Ike back there, if he's not ready for a full 90, I don't think we have to hit the panic button in that situation. You can slot Heinz Ike in there and get quality minutes out of him as well. So that's good stuff, man.
2 more quick pieces of news here. One, just kind of little fun fact that I found perusing them internets. As you know, I was a former college basketball coach. My last stop was at Southwestern University in Georgetown. And I don't even remember why I got on their site earlier this week looking for something. But I did happen across that Matt Bersano is the goalkeepers coach for Southwestern University. Apparently he was doing that in the fall. So I thought that was kind of cool. Matt, getting a little bit of coaching experience there in the offseason.
Very cool. We're involved in the community. We have ties.
Exactly. So this much more pertinent to Austin as a club and the fans in terms of their interest. Rumors out of Brazil. Now, from what I can tell, this is one site that looks like maybe a fan, could be an official, outlet down there, but that's more oriented towards Corinthians and that club in the Brazilian league. The rumor out of there is that Corinthians are targeting Sebastian Driussi in the summer. Well, it would be their primary window, right? Just like the rest of the world. I believe their window opens on July 10th. So the fact that teams may be coming after our best player shouldn't really surprise anybody. But what are your thoughts there in terms of, obviously there is months left between now and that window opening for us to speculate about this. What are your thoughts here in that? What are your thoughts if I said maybe we're shopping Sebastian Driussi?
I mean, honestly, right now, I don't even want to think about it too much, just given the state that we're in and this matchup coming up. But since you put me on the spot here, he's a great player. Of course, he's gonna draw interest from other clubs and things like that. And this is part of the game, part of the sport. You're playing in a global sphere, like there's all kinds of teams that are going to be interested in players, and I don't know how much validity this has or whatnot, but everyone's pretty much available at the right price. I can't sit here and be like, oh, I'd be ecstatic or thrilled or excited that Seba was leaving the club because, he's been one of my favorite players and one of most people's favorite players for a very long time here. And, it would be difficult to see him shipped out. But again, we understood that this was a business. It was difficult to see Diego shipped out, and we're still kind of waiting on that to come to fruition in regard to the benefits that we're going to be seeing from that. So I know that Roto's doing his due diligence, and I have put all of my faith and trust into this man. He has forgotten more about soccer probably today than I have knowledge in my entire life. So I'm just going to go ahead and give him the green light to do what he's got to do to build this club to be ultra successful and, get to that point that he's been hinting at since he got here. So, we'll see how this progresses and how it moves along. But I hope Seba is focused, locked in on the task at hand, which is Frisco coming into town.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at too. So not a ton to add, right? Like if that move was made, I would assume two things. Number one, that we're getting at least fair market value for Seba, whatever, that value could certainly fluctuate depending on how the team does and how he does individually between now and the summer. But you would think we're not selling low financially at that point if that came to pass. And number two, that there would be a plan in place where you can take that however many millions of dollars and maybe go out and use that on transfer fees for two DPs from your one. So we'll see. Very much a fringe rumor from, thousands of miles to the south. But did want to talk about that because that was kind of circulating this morning. But like you said, we're hoping that the team has 100% of their focus on this Saturday, and that's where we will turn our attention right now. FC Dallas coming to town again, the first Copa Tejas matchup of any kind in the 2024 season. So taking a look at our rivals to the north. Of course, the all-time head-to-head record, not great for us. And thanks in large part to 2021, and I think the beginning part of 2022. 9 all-time matches, including MLS playoffs. Austin has a record of 2 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws against FC Dallas across all competitions. Last year, we played 3 times. FC Dallas won the first and third, with Austin winning that kind of match sandwiched in the middle there. Austin won that one 3-0. And the other 2 meetings, were both 1-0 results in favor of Dallas after Austin FC was down a man. In the last 237 minutes of play where Austin was playing against FC Dallas and had 11 men on the pitch, they have not been scored on by FC Dallas. So an interesting stat line that will not continue forever, but I think it's pretty telling about how these 2 teams faced off last year. Dallas couldn't do anything while Austin was at full strength. And we know that Austin was no great shakes last year. So they've certainly, improved their team in certain areas. We can talk about that here in a second. But any thoughts from you as we look back on the past of this rivalry where, again, one of my least favorite memories at Q2 was getting 5 dropped on our head in 2021.
I mean, yeah, that loss to them last year in the waning moments of that game after the Danny Red was maybe the most painful loss that we had last year. It's the one that sticks out to me the most, maybe because we were in attendance and we
had to drive back after that.
Played a great game, and Memo has a chance there at the end. Johnny has a bit of a chance there at the end. We can't put either of those away, and then Tafari gets a header on it, and we go home almost on the verge of tears. But that is some interesting stats that you have there. I know that even when we were out without Seba, we played them very tough. So I'm looking forward to it, man. And if we have something in regard to having their number defensively, when we're at full strength, then we'll take that. They're still a very dangerous club. And I know that they have, some really talented players as well, have been able to catch any of their games up until this point. But sitting on just one win, right? And I know that they're probably not too thrilled with their start as well. So it's going to be two hungry teams, man.
Yeah, I mean, and turning, I guess, our attention now fully to Dallas and what they're working with here early in the season. Kind of a bumpy start for them as well. Maybe not as widely publicized, and probably because we expect a little bit more out of this Dallas team. Whether we were, saying that in the preseason or even now. They did lose DP winger Alan Velasco late last season. I think that was a playoff torn ACL. Which was just about a month after they lost Giovanni Jesus to the same injury in September. So a lot of their young up-and-coming players, obviously Velasco, not even up-and-coming, near a star in this league, out for the majority, if not all, of this season. And they've been taking on more injuries to start this year. Paxton Pomykal just yesterday ruled out for the year, getting a cleanup procedure on some cartilage issues in his knee. They've missed time to injury or conditioning or weddings. In the case of Petar Musa, Ferreira has missed time. Ilara Mendy has missed time. Even their super draft pick, who I believe scored in their first match, Logan Farrington, he's been out and injured over the last game or so. They're coming off a bye last week, so this team probably fairly rested here. But that name I mentioned, Petar Musa, that is the marquee acquisition of the offseason. Came over from Benfica, club record signing, $9.7 million fee for his services. With add-ons, that could go up to $13 million. And the 1-2 combination of Jesus Ferreira and Petar Musa is, I think, the biggest, and certainly not a hot take, it's by far the biggest challenge that Austin is going to face on Saturday.
Yeah, and our defensive unit has been really sound, really disciplined throughout this entire season. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. Obviously, Ferreira is able to do a lot of incredible things out there on the pitch. He plays kind of that false nine role. Talked about it a bunch last year, where he's consistently putting the defense in
Disadvantageous?
There it is. Disadvantageous positions by, being right there on the line of being onside or offside and then making his run. He's crafty. Definitely one of my favorite players to watch play this game. I just wish he wasn't in that jersey. So
yeah,
pairing him with Musa is a potent combination, and we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's, ready to handle what they're throwing at us. You looked at the games last year, and they really mucked up a lot of those games, and we're sitting back, very compact, content to hold on to the ball, not really progress the ball forward. So you might see a stark contrast to that with the new additional firepower that they have acquired here in the offseason.
Yeah, and I hope we've seen it before, right? Where especially at the start of last season, you can make the argument for a couple teams that we've faced this season that seeing Austin has been the get right spot for some of these teams. 5 goals scored through their 4 matches for Dallas. Again, we're hoping that Saturday is not the night they unlock that Ferreira Musa combo. But like you mentioned, staunch at the back, right? Not trying to rush anything with their offense. Martin Pass, one of the better keepers in the league, right? And you mentioned their team defense, 37 goals allowed last season. That was 3rd best in the league. That is just a hair over 1 goal per game. So again, it is tough to score on this Dallas team. If they roll that back 3 out there as they have been, Tafari, Ibiaga, Junkwa, all between 6 foot and 6'4" on that back line. So, I think we got to hope, I think, that Ilara Mendy is out here because without him and without Pomykal, they do have maybe a midfield that's a little worse off than us. And we don't have positional advantages in many places at the moment. So again, I'm hoping we do get a little bit of help from that injury report, even though that hasn't helped us to get a win thus far.
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned the size there, but they're also incredibly athletic. Tafari might be one of the most, if not the most athletic defensive back or center back in this league right now. So they present some matchup problems for us for sure. Hopefully we can take advantage of those injury situations that you mentioned. A full go of 10 would be a lovely, lovely sight. And, these are types of the games where you have guys like 10 who can step up and elevate their play because we're playing a rival. And obviously, Seba incredibly disappointed with the result last week, as he could be seen and heard on the post-game presser there with Phil. And, I'm looking forward to seeing him in full go. The rust hopefully has been worn off, and he is ready to show who he is and what he brings to the table.
Well, let's talk about us now. And I've got a couple different, just two different lineups here. I think it's likely that we continue to see that kind of 4-3-3 ran out there, right? So one thing you and I were discussing earlier this week, and I have heard it other places since you and I were talking about it Sunday evening, I would like to see Danny in this starting lineup for Johan. If it is for Alex Ring, that's also fine with me, but I want Danny out there to help us progress the ball. We have looked our best, and again, it's not a high bar to clear, but we have looked our best offensively when Danny drops back into that more ball progressing position, connecting that back line with the offensive third. And so I just think we cannot continue, especially at home, to sacrifice any sort of offensive threat just to try to help out this back line. Like, these guys, to me, they're professionals. We have to generate more on offense. We are historically bad.
Yep.
The worst offense. If these numbers continued across a full season, and you fingers crossed they don't, there's not much good you can say about that attack right now. So I'm hoping if we stay in this same sort of formation that we do see Danny out there in the defensive half. And I would like to see Finley and Obrian run out there again. And to be honest, I could care less which side they're on, whichever they feel more comfortable, which to me feels like Obi left, Finley right. But again, I think splitting hairs at that point. What are your thoughts on the lineup or potential formation changes that we could see?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I think I'd probably want to see Johan over Alex there, but Pepe's got to be in, man. Like, the difference between him on the ball, between him and Alex and him and Johan is just night and day. And I know Johan's been doing a good job of getting the ball off his foot, trying to get us into a more cohesive offensive look, but Danny can break lines with his dribble. The other two cannot. And that's been well documented at this point in time. They're obviously slower, much less athletic than Danny. So I'm right there with you. I think that's probably the key to the game, right? If Danny can progress the ball and transition us from our back line or even ring behind him into the attacking third, get 10 some touches, who can then progress the ball forward, that's really what's going to kickstart this offense. And we're going to need a good game out of him. So I hope he's ready to roll. And I hope he's still got a bitter taste in his mouth from last year after what happened over there in Frisco and the way that he let us down. But that's in the past now, and I'm ready for him to have a big game here and hopefully get us rolling.
Yeah. I've got Julio and Hindsight there. That was I made the other formation first, so I was just moving guys around to get this 4-3-3 up there. I think it would be certainly Hedges, and then if Julio is ready for 60 plus, probably Julio, assuming his starting position there. But I think I'm fine with any of the three, to be honest. So those are somewhat interchangeable for me at this point. You mentioned Danny. I agree with you. Make up for that mistake last year in Dallas. Have that on your mind. And you want to talk about guys take a walk down narrative street here. Can we get some Hotter Obrian revenge? Get his first goal contribution against his old club, who cast him aside in the winter. That's a storyline that I'm hoping to buy into this weekend.
That would be lovely. We definitely need to see some more connectivity between him and Seba. They struggled mightily last game. And that is one thing that we do have to take some patience with and some time with, to understand that these guys are going to need a little more time to gel, given Seba's injury and how influential and important it is for us to be getting him the ball. So hopefully that has been something that we've talked about in practice, and just ready for Danny to have a good game here and really propel us forward.
So here's the other idea, and something we saw a lot more with Driussi out of the lineup last year, but I think we had some pretty good success with that box midfield, right? Kind of a 5-back or 3-back, whatever you want to call it. where we could get all three of those center backs in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could certainly have Biru as the left wing back and have, Gallagher is the one that is in there for sure.
Yep.
In this formation, I thought maybe having Johnny G and Owen Wolf as those wing backs when you've got the three center backs solidifying that back line. Maybe Alex Ring dropping kind of in there with them as well to help progress the ball. I wouldn't hate seeing that. You can still get Danny and Alex Ring, have Driussi and Obrian kind of as those inverted wingers at the top of the box there, playing underneath Diego Rubio. I think this allows us to probably get our most talented group on the field. I will say that number 10 has voiced his displeasure with anything but the 4-3-3 in the past. So again, I don't think this is likely, but it's a wrinkle that I would welcome. Because again, I think we saw some good things out of this formation, these tactics last year, and maybe it helps us get some more creativity, some connectivity in that midfield.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It probably makes us more athletic as well with Owen out there paired with Johnny. I think my only thing there is I know 10 hasn't liked that. I would honestly drop Rubio to Obrian's spot and start G if that was the situation. Just given the fact that Rubio has more spatial awareness. He understands runs better. I think he would play much better off of Seba and even allow Seba to operate almost as like a lone wolf in that situation when Rubio's getting pushed up and looking almost like a two-striker look there. So that would be my only potential substitution there. And then
would also raise, I was gonna say that would also raise the size profile on that front line, right? Getting Giassi in there to battle those big center backs that Dallas is bringing.
A very good point. And like that's been something that we've been trying to do with the reconstructed long throws with the departure of Lima here, where Hedges or who have you gets on that near post and tries to get a flick on. So I think that I like this idea. And, I thought that maybe we need some sort of formational change here. And I do think that the talent level is raised with this outlook.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, right? About an hour before the match, we'll see how we're rolling things out. And again, the one thing I want to see is Danny. Danny back in this lineup. And again, like, it's not because Johan has been bad that I want him out of the 11 for this game, but like, I would love to bring Johan in if we get a little bit of a lead. Then let him come out there and be that destroyer when we don't necessarily need to be building up to try to mount a comeback. So we'll see. I guess the last things I'll say here, right? We ran down all of the kind of this is a nightmare type of stats on Sunday. So if we're going to not draw conclusions, but start talking about the 5-game sample size that we do have now, how about we talk about this, right? Being at home hasn't resulted in a win yet this season, but it has been much better in terms of the statistical output. And I think just to the eye test, right? Some of that is game planning where we are going in on purposefully rather, being more defensive and compact on the road and trying to grind out those draws and steal a goal. So at home, right? 60%, 3 out of 5 of our games have been at home, but 84.3% of our total shots rather, have come at home. 75% of the shots on target, which is just 6 out of 8, but those have been at home. And 94.2% of our total XG out of the 3.46 that we have recorded has been at home. So we've been overwhelmingly better at home in terms of the offense. Again, that has generated all 5 of our goals, which is not a ton, but I'm choosing to, again, shocker, if you're a listener of this podcast, I'm choosing to lean into the positives here, going into the rivalry match, hoping that these guys are going to lean into the rivalry themselves, because that we're going to be going that much harder in the stands as well. Hopefully that translates onto the pitch and we can shut up those Dallas fans in the northwest corner up in the top of the east stands.
Absolutely.
Northeast corner, rather.
I'm excited to see how our players respond. Obviously things have not been working very well for us up until this point for some time, but this is a chance to respond, to show your fight, to show your pride for your club, and really go out there and, just have a good performance. And, I'm just having flashbacks to, what was it, Pompeo and his deflection goal off Ethan, and how much different this would all sound and look if we had won that game versus St. Louis. But I digress. That is a what if, and we don't deal with those. So I'm just really excited for this team to be, we talk to the North End Pirates all the time. We talk to the Verde Pendant boys all the time. And one thing that has been consistently popping up with them and their opinions on the club right now is just that we're not showing the pride, the fight that we need to have at an individual level to get these results that we need. So I'm happy to be back at the Q. I'm happy the boys are back at the Q, and let's just go get this done, man.
Full 90 for Seba?
I hope not. I hope we're
not?
I hope we're up 2-0 and we can get him out of the game. That's what I hope.
Can we take him off the pitch though? I don't know.
We can bring in Johan to be, muscle Felipe, as he can be pushed into that role. Based on how long we ran him in Orlando, based on some of Wolf's comments surrounding his injury, I think he's a full go for 90. I think he's capable of it. Yeah. But again, I don't necessarily want to see it because I'd love to be up in a position where we can just get him out of the game and, we can drink some beers in peace.
Yeah. Yeah. A little standing O, locking up the win at the end of the match. Yeah. Would fucking love that. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's going to be electric, man, to get him out there. He came on the pitch, in our last home game and everyone was raucous. Everyone was up for it, excited. So he's going to bring some juice. He's going to bring some energy.
Yeah. I think full 90 for sure here. Again, unless we're bringing on, whatever our form of the human victory cigar is, who knows?
Victory formation, bring in Jimmy Farklin.
Yeah. All right, last thing to do here before we move on. I know this is not the first time you're predicting an Austin FC draw or loss on this podcast, so I'll ask you, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday?
Give me 2-0. Give it to me. Give me 2-0. I got these double birds ready for those Frisco fans up there. So let's get to it, man. Yeah, I'm excited, bro. We keep having these sad pods on Sunday, but Wednesday is all about the hopium.
Yeah. You start huffing that, man. Are we stocked up on those canisters enough? I don't know.
Rations are low right now.
Yeah. And I predicted the loss last week. It was not something that I did lightly. I hate doing that shit. And we're turning it around this week. 2-1 victory for Austin. But I like yours better because if you can get through this match with not only a dub, but a shutout of FC Dallas, now we're throwing those numbers out there like Dallas has not scored on Austin in X number of minutes. Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, I don't care how they get it done. We need 3 points here, not just for the season, to get started on the right foot in Copa Tejas. Got to get it done, boys.
Got to get it done.
All right, so let's move on here. And before we get to last business day, of course, we got to check in on
the best keeper in the world.
Damian lost in his second regular season match with Louisville City FC last weekend. He took on the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Jackson Volti, EJ Johnson out there. Damian gets the start, gets the 3-1 victory, so allows his first goal of the season in the 59th minute.
The best keeper in the world.
I guess that just fires, when he gets a win.
I was like,
we'll leave that in.
Yeah.
3 saves. Brings this total to 9 saves through 2 matches, just 1 goal allowed. Louisville, 2 wins, 6 points so far. So perfect on the season. Can't start any better. Next up, Birmingham Legion this Saturday afternoon. So good luck, Damian and Louisville.
Absolutely. And when we talked about his whole storyline and if we were going to be loaning him out and how much we wanted him to be here and still to be able to retain his rights and stuff, we definitely looked at and were concerned about what type of club he was going to, and they've been successful. He's a fantastic keeper. I'm super excited for him, man, and this opportunity. But I don't know how this happened, but for the first time, I noticed the size of the cup that Diego is holding in that clip.
Yeah.
And it is massive. That is,
Yeah.
looks like a lot of coffee in there.
So no, it's warm water for their mate.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get a little culture in your life.
Ah,
All right. We move on to last business day here, where Austin FC2 looking to not only bounce back from their season opening loss, their Open Cup first round exit, but getting Copita Tejas started on the right foot at Dynamo Dos tomorrow. So probably when most of you are listening to this, or if you're listening Friday or Saturday before the Austin FC match, it already happened. So check your FOT mobs or wherever you get your scores. Last year, of course, Austin FC2 had the upper hand, but this Dyna Dos roster, man, is reloaded, and I hate to see this, man, because if we go back to December, right, where MLS Super Draft, we did some deep dives on some guys. I was locked in on one player. Do you remember his name?
absolutely not.
Okay, well, Stephen Honor Giamfi was my guy. He was a Generation Adidas designated player in that draft, and he slipped all the way to the late 20s where the Dynamo scooped him up. And he got his first goal last weekend, backflip, Selly, and all. They also picked up Usman Silla, who was another top prospect who decided to stay in the draft. They got him in the second round. So both of those guys would be the two players to watch in this match, whether you're going out to Houston if you're a diehard or you're just catching this match on Apple TV. The two rookies are sensational, and I really hope that we can limit these guys and get a win out there.
I hope so as well. We've talked about it. We'll probably talk about it again. But this Austin FC2 club is not the same club that we had last year. They look vastly different. We need some direction. We need an identity. Last year it was our defense, the work of Captain Joe Hafferty, obviously Damien in the net there as well. So we got to find some identity. But I really trust this coaching staff. It is a top tier coaching staff, and I know that they've been working with the guys. And I can only imagine how upsetting those practices were after that 4-0 game. So I hope these boys are ready to play. Like you said, this Houston team sounds talented, but we also have some talent and some firepower. So hoping for a good match. And like we always say, it doesn't matter how you get it done, but you just got to get it done.
Yeah, so they are 0-2 to start the season. 2-1 loss at home to SKC2, then a 3-2 road loss to LAFC2. So both teams looking for their first win on the season. And we got some good news here today on the social medias. We've got pictures of both Shai Toure and Bobo back in training. I did not see, I haven't done the dive myself. I saw that courtesy of our friends over at We Are Austin TV posting those pictures. I don't know if we've seen Ruben Bonachera yet. I think that is the one name we are still looking for at this time, but even if those guys, Toure and Bobo, don't play this weekend, just to know that they're back on the pitch and training, that's going to be a huge boost for this team whenever they're ready to come back.
Absolutely. I saw the pictures on Instagram with Austin FC2, and I was super excited just to see Bobo there and Czech as well. So, if they're ready to go, that really boosts our talent. That really boosts our depth. Obviously, I think we're going to be dealing with that Garcia injury for a while, hammy. So it'd be a welcome sight to get these boys into the rotation. I'm just so excited to watch Bobo again, man. Like he's so fun.
Yep, I agree. And even with Chris Garcia out sideline, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. You've still got plenty of wing options here with CJ, with Jimmy, with Anthony Garcia, right, who we did not see in the Open Cup match. Of course, Micah Burton in the middle there. What do you think we got up top? It's got to be Pignot, right?
It better be Pignot. I don't see how you could possibly start Santillan after what he did versus 4-0, man. But the thing I'm looking at is Alstrop. I want to see how he responds to a tough game. A couple mental lapses there and that, but that's in the past now. And it's all about how you respond to these situations. So I want to see somebody who's confident, commanding that box, being a vocal leader, and not afraid of the moment. You can't be timid. You can't have that hesitation when you're a keeper, because that'll kill you, man. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he responds. A lot of promise out of the young man, and I'm hoping for a great game from him.
Yeah, that's a good call. I did see he took the braids out, so I let the hair down a little bit. Maybe a little change of hairstyle there. We get back in there, get back on the horse. I'm excited to see the offense and hopefully maybe a little bit more chemistry, connectivity among these guys who I don't think had a ton of practice time together, at least consistently. And now, right, been off about 8-9 days since that Open Cup exit. So hopefully got some good training sessions in and put on a good performance, because it's going to be that was every time they met up last year, physical, intense, both on the pitch and in the crowd. Even after the whistle, right? We had cards being thrown around in Houston last year. So I'm looking forward to watching it, man. I believe this is an 8 p.m. kickoff, 7 p.m. rather, on Thursday night.
Great. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it too. It was a very, very fun and exciting matchup last year between these two clubs. Definitely don't like one another, so more fuel to the fire. Let's go out there and get it done. In regard to some score predictions here, it's hard to look at that back line and the way that Alstrup was played initially to start this season to think that we're going to be able to keep out your boy. And the firepower that they have, but they've been conceding goals as well pretty handedly. I think they've given up 5 in their 2 matches here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 3-2. Give me a Jimmy goal and set the world on fire. There
you go. I love it. I'm going to go 1-1, and Austin bringing home the extra point. Redemption for Alstrup in the shootout. So PK shootout win. We love the 3 points. I'd much rather that. But I wouldn't hate, another chance to get back there in that shootout, not just for Marcus, but for guys like Sal, right? Guys who missed their PK maybe in the Open Cup. Just redemption all around. Either way, boys, cheering for you. Bring home that win. Real quick Academy update. GA Cup getting set to go here in a few days, but we do have the U13s and the U14s, I believe, out in Florida, taking part, I believe, in a tournament that is organized by Monterrey, Rayados out there. So did get an update from our Academy correspondent, Chad America. Chad saying the U13s lost 1-0 against Pipeline Soccer Club out of Maryland. U14s took the 2-1 loss to Miami Rush. And he said it was really self-inflicted. Some sloppy passes out of the back led to the goals. And he said, and the Pipeline Soccer Club goalkeeper made at least 3 really great one-on-one saves. So it looks like they're, taking on some quality clubs, maybe a little bit of bad luck involved there. So we'll keep our eyes out there on Florida and seeing how the boys are doing.
Yeah, man, you got to take your bumps and bruises and just dust yourself off, get ready to roll again. So shout out to those boys. Keep it rolling.
All right, time for the nonsense, Ian. We'll pull up the best ball standings here. We've got our rank numbers correct this week, right? The graphics department reprimanded.
That's right.
On point this week.
We almost fired some people last week.
Yeah. And man, that I think the next drop that we need here on the North End Podcast soundboard is the South Park, like way early South Park, where Cartman sings the I Hate You Guys song. I want to direct that at our friends at the Verde Pendant, because 48 points on the week, leapfrogging Verde all day for the top spot. Just a 1-point margin between Verde Pendant and Phil West there in second. But man, I know you were complaining about having to be in a chat with 4 Spurs fans. I'm regretting being friends with our buddies right now, because we are getting it on a weekly basis, especially with them in first and us still in the cellar.
Yep. And, they can talk their shit, man. I appreciate the shit talk there. You see 36 from us. I'm pretty sure that's got to be our high this season.
That's our season high. Yes.
All right. So then, we were on the right track. Maybe we've righted this plane. I know we're dealing with some more injuries, particularly to our defensive unit, which is unfortunate to say the least. But now we're getting a full go with Seba. Haney's been back into the mix, getting that rust off, so
we get our goalkeepers back this week, both of them absent on international duty last week. So we had the season high with no goalkeepers again. Like, we've had no defense one week, We've had 1 week, 2 weeks now, I think, where we have no keepers due to like CCC and injuries. So it's been a rough start for us. We did make up 4 points on Texas Ring of Fire there at the bottom, and we've got We Are Austin TV opening up a little bit of a lead in third over Moon Tower in fourth. Moon Tower last on the week with 28 points, but we know those Moon Tower boys never stayed down long. So again, everybody's still in the mix here, and a long season. Week 6 coming up.
Absolutely. It's going to be a long season. You look at this table, you look at the table in MLS, it's all kind of jumbled. This one's a little more,
a little bit more separated,
a little more stretched. There clearly seems to be 2 tiers right now, but there's plenty of time to go. We saw that Texas Ring of Fire run last year where they were putting some serious heat on people. So there's plenty of time. We got to get healthy. Once we get healthy, we'll get right.
Yep. All right. And we'll finish it off talking about the bets, E, and stop me if you've heard this before. Losing week here for the North End podcast. Not a ton went right, but again, we did not have an absolute disaster week like some of the weeks we saw last year. Try to go to Inter Miami up in New York, or New Jersey rather, and they get ran 4-0 at the hands of New York Red Bulls. So that doesn't come through. Portland gets beat at home by a shorthanded Philadelphia side. We put a half unit on Austin plus 450 for the vibes. The vibes were atrocious. But we do get Toronto beating Atlanta at home plus 120. And then with the goal scorers, we had 2 guys that did not play, so those were voided. But of the remaining guys we picked, only 1 goal, and that was Hugo Kuipers at the beginning of the day. So Kuipers scored. We had Red Bulls Miami going. We were feeling great early on Saturday, and by the time the night ended, whether it was our fandom or our bets, not a ton went right on the day as a whole.
No, we were not feeling good at the end of that night, man.
Minus 4.7 units on the week, so we're negative 3.93 on the season now, E. But a good week can turn that right around and put us back in the black. So a couple spots we are looking at. This one is tough. I'm on the fence still, but Orlando City, New York Red Bulls coming to town. Both teams getting their international players back. Orlando's plus 145 here at home, and as much as we respect Red Bulls, we have about the equal amount of respect for the ceiling on this Orlando team. This is a team we picked to be first in the East coming into the season. So while I don't know if we re-rank them today, we would have them 1. I think plus 145 at home is a little bit too steep. I think we might have to take a shot there.
Yeah, they just didn't look great to me last week. And still, you see the talent. Like, they were without all those dudes, and they're still rolling out a stacked lineup with Luis Muriel and Dagger Dan and all these dudes.
Yeah.
And it's Ojeda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have the talent. You'd have to assume at some point they'd be gelling as well. They're out of CCC now, so they don't have that stacked schedule to deal with and fall back on. So I don't hate it. I really like this Red Bulls team right now. Forsberg is really good. So we'll see how the injuries, everything comes out with the news and everything with the revamped North End betting practices. But yeah, I can see that one for sure.
Yeah, I know you were looking at Colorado, right? LAFC in town, plus 120 there. They got back on the tracks last week, 5-0 victory over Nashville. Colorado still looks pretty bad, disjointed at best at this point. LAFC for you?
Any plus money situation where you're getting LAFC is something that catches my eye right away. Obviously, they have the firepower up and down the pitch. They are loaded with talent. Has Bouanga even scored yet?
Finally, last week, yeah.
Okay, so when we didn't bet him?
Yeah, of course. The
nice.
1 week.
There we go. But yeah, I do like that matchup. Obviously, the elevation is something to deal with. It's probably going to be much chillier there than it is in California. So those are some aspects to deal with. But anytime you can get that team at plus money, man, it seems like it's a good deal.
Speaking of Bouanga, we're going back to him this week. They're on the road, plus 150 for Bouanga to score against Colorado. Sure, he'll go back to getting blanked here now that we're back on the train. But how about, look, I don't know if we're taking Austin to win in terms of our bets this week, but how about Seba to score? Plus 220. We know he's on pens. If we were able to get one, obviously you kind of got to dribble in the box once in a while to maybe get a penalty kick. But, I think plus 220 the man is due. The man is, in my opinion, the most talented player on the pitch come Saturday. So I'm eyeing that for sure. Aaron Bupenza plus 260 on the road. Just an amazing goal scorer back in there with Lucho. I like that. And then Manuel Reynoso, 30 minutes off the bench in Minnesota's last game. They had a bye this week, so you'd have to think he can go at least 60, at least in my eyes. Plus 320 for Reynoso. I don't think that's too bad on the road either.
I don't hate that at all. I've seen this man score in almost every stadium. He's fantastic. So if he's getting back to speed, getting back into form and everything like that, you got to like that plus money there for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you are tailing us, first of all, you are a brave soul. And if you want to check out the picks article, those always drop Friday evening on the northendpodcast.com, where you can read our match preview. That is live now for Saturday's match against FC Dallas. Of course, you can use the cap sheets, and we've had some more interest. Somebody sent a screenshot to us. People were asking about cap sheets on the Austin FC subreddit. We saw some Twitter users the other day saying, I wish we had some spreadsheets of all this information. Boom, you give them the link right there. So northendpodcast.com, match previews, weekly picks, and access to our salary cap and roster spreadsheets. Make sure you go to the northendpodcast.com for any and all of that. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
I mean, shout out those folks that have been sharing the spreadsheet with fellow fans. I think it's, obviously a bit of a homer opinion here, but a great way to up your knowledge of what we're dealing with right now, what the roster looks like, what dudes are getting paid, so you can see how much money you don't make that compared to them. So, man, I'm excited. I'm ready. Rivalry match. It's going to be awesome. And hoping for not a sad pod on Sunday, but a very happy pod.
Yeah, we'll take a happy Sunday pod for once in our lives. And that'll do it here for episode 129. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you on Saturday at Q2, ready to get our first win of the season. And then we'll see you all back here on Sunday night for a happy podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.